topic today is childhood trauma and its effects in adulthood. We've seen a lot of people, whatever they experienced in childhood affects them and what they're doing in their adult life. So first of all, what is childhood trauma? Childhood trauma is any kind of experience, any kind of bad experience that overwhelms a child and their ability to cope. So these are negative things that the child experience when they are children, and it goes with them to adulthood. What examples of such experiences can be physical. We have physical trauma, we have emotional trauma, we have sexual abuse. Someone who was abused physically or emotionally or sexually while they were children, they can go with that experience to their adulthood, and it will affect how they behave even in their adult life. Also, we see there's neglect and abandonment. Children who are neglected while growing up, children who are abandoned by their parents, by their siblings, such kind of children, they have, when you observe them, there's something that they portray in their adulthood that that tries to tell you that this child was traumatized while they were children. We also have domestic violence. Homes that experience domestic violence, children that grow in those homes, they also experience a kind of trauma that they walk with it to adulthood. Also, we have chronic criticism and emotional invalidation. A child who is frequently criticized negatively, they will walk with that and they'll never gain confidence even in their adult life. They'll always be seeking approval from people. So such an experience is traumatizing for them, and they go with it to their adult life. We have parental substance abuse. Someone whose parents used to abuse drugs and they are addicted to something, they walk with that to their adult life. So you'll find such a child will also start abusing drugs because that's what they know from being children. We have bullying or social exclusion. If you are bullied from a young age or you are excluded socially, you'll grow up not having confidence in yourself. You'll grow up fearing to interact with people. So that also works with people to adulthood. And lastly, we have loss of a parent or a caregiver. So the fact that you lose a parent or a caregiver when you are a child, that bad experience, whatever you went through during that period, before losing that parent, before or during that period of mourning, immediately after such an experience, you walk with it to the end of your life. So if children don't heal and they walk with those bad experiences to their adulthood, they experience an adult life that is disturbed, because whatever they experience while growing up, it's what they will walk with until they are adults. So let's look at psychological effects of childhood trauma in adulthood. Adults who experience childhood trauma, they may, in their adult life, they may face the following. First of all, they may face anxiety disorder and chronic fear. Anxiety disorder because they'll always be anxious, like they don't know what people are, how people will view them. They are the kind of people even want validation from people. So they'll always be anxious. What are people thinking about me? How are people seeing me? What are they saying about me? You see? And they'll always be fearing even to do things on their own. They'll always seek validation from people. They'll not be in a position to make decisions on their own. So they are always anxious and they'll always be in constant fear. We have depression. There are things someone goes through when they are children and they walk with it to adulthood and it depresses them. That bad experience doesn't get out of their mind. It depresses them. It makes them be traumatic even in their adulthood. Why? Because they didn't forget what they went through. They didn't get help. They were not counseled. Maybe if it's something like physical abuse or emotional abuse or even sexual abuse, they didn't get anyone who could counsel them and help them get out of whatever trauma they went through. So they start being depressed, either in teenage or even when they are adults. We also have post-traumatic stress. This is a mental disorder that someone experiences after a prolonged depression or anxiety episode. So post-traumatic stress is, they'll always have, it's an experience that comes from what you went, from a trauma you went through. So you'll have stress every time you remember what you went through, and it never gets out of your mind. You try to concentrate with something else, but whatever trauma you went through doesn't get out of your mind. So you find this person, even in their adult life, they are expensive. They have that post-traumatic stress. We have low self-esteem and shame. Whatever a child went through when they were growing up, maybe they were raped, maybe they were raped, or they were physically abused, they'll have shame in it. They'll never have confidence in people while interacting with people. So they don't have that self-esteem. Maybe they think people know about it, and if people know about it, they'll always be ashamed even to interact with people. So such people, you find them, they'll start distancing themselves socially. They'll not be freely interacting with people. We have emotional dysregulation, which might be intense emotions or the numb emotions. Someone who is let's say they don't have any emotions because of what they went through. You might go through something that is very bad to an extent. Maybe back then you felt a lot of pain to an extent you don't feel any pain anymore. Even in your adult life, if you are heartbroken, you don't feel it because whatever you went through as an adult, as a child, you were abandoned maybe as a child, and that abandonment has made you become resistant to pain. So you might be numb to pain because of the traumatic experience you went through as a child. Also, you can have excess emotions. These excess emotions, like you find yourself that whatever you went through as a child is already in your mind. It's stuck there. So whatever, even a small thing, it might be something very small, and maybe someone didn't intend to wrong you, but that small thing can make you have a series of emotions that are plenty, because you can't get whatever you went through as a child out of your mind. We have difficulty in trusting others. You were wronged as a child. Maybe you were abandoned, you were abused physically or emotionally. Something happened in your childhood, and this makes you not to trust other people while growing up or even in your adult life, because maybe you trusted someone and that person broke your trust, and it makes you feel like, I can't trust anyone else because I might trust someone and they do what this other person did. So if you went through trauma while growing up, you'll find yourself that you're not able to trust other people even in your adult life. We also have perfectionism or people pleasing. Why? You see people who were abandoned or neglected while growing up. Such people are the ones mostly who want to be perfect in the eyes of people. They want to always please people. Why? They don't want what they went through as a child to happen again. They are avoiding whatever traumatized them as a child to happen again in their adult life. So throughout their lives, they'll be seeking perfectionism. They'll always want to be perfect in everything so that other people will like them and love them, so that other people will be friends with them. So they'll always be seeking to please people, even if they know whatever they're doing is wrong. They'll always seek to please people so that these people will stick with them. They don't want to feel the loneliness they felt while growing up. We also have fear of abandonment or rejection. Fear of abandonment or rejection, this happens when you are abandoned or rejected while a child. So you'll have that fear. What if you'll have the what ifs in your life? What if these maybe your husband, what if he rejects me again? What if he abandons me? What if after giving him a child, they abandon me like my mother abandoned us? You see, such things. So if whatever you went through as a child can have a lot of psychological effects even in your lives. We want to look at behavioral and coping patterns. How can someone who experienced trauma as a child behave and cope even in their adult life? Some adults develop coping strategies that were once protective but later became harmful. So we want to look at these behavior that were Okay, but with time it started becoming harmful to their lives and even to those who surround them. First of all, we have substance abuse and addictive behaviors. You see, maybe you were sexually abused or physically abused, the pain you went through, the trauma, and maybe you were given antidepressants, maybe you were given painkillers, and you continue using them until you can't stay without using such drugs. So if the continue use of such drugs, you become addicted to them. You can't stay without those drugs. Also, we have substance abuse. Like you start using, maybe if it's a guy, you start smoking, maybe to help you forget what you went through. You start drinking. Some start chewing mirrors. Some start involve themselves with smoking bang. So you see such things. If you start abusing such things, maybe to forget whatever you went through, with time you become addicted to those things, and once you become addicted to those things, getting out of it becomes a problem. So you maybe you started, when you were starting, it was just like, I want to forget my pains, I want to forget my experiences, but with time you become addicted. So this is a behavior that you started not to harm yourself, but with time it is harmful to yourself and to even those who surround you. We have workaholism and chronic overachievement. You have so much in your mind that is disturbing you, such that you don't want to see yourself idle, because anytime you become idle, you start thinking of the experience you went through. So what do you do as an adult? You become too engaged in your work. You start overworking yourself. So not because you want to achieve something, but because you want to keep yourself busy to avoid thinking too much of what you went through. So you overwork yourself. Also, you might want to overachieve things. Why? You want to please people. You stretch yourself to overachieve things so that you please people around you, so that they don't maybe abandon you, they don't reject you, they don't discriminate you because of whatever you went through as a child. We have emotional withdrawal and dissociation. Emotional withdrawal, like you are not attached to you don't have any emotions. You detach yourself from any type of emotion. There are people who are just numb. They don't feel anything. They don't feel pain at all. They're not joyous at any given point. They're just there. They're just living because they are alive. You see, so they have detached themselves from all kinds of emotions, because they see that if I become emotional, something small can trigger the pain that I went through as a child. So they decide to emotionally withdraw themselves and dissociate themselves from any kind of emotion. We have self-sabotage or risk-taking. This happens when someone doesn't love themselves. And why? Maybe they went through a lot of pain until they have no reason to live. You know, there are people who are just living because they are alive. So they have nothing that is pushing them to face another day. So you'll find they'll start self-sabotaging themselves. Maybe they are working in a construction site, and they're the ones who to volunteer in doing tasks that are very dangerous. You see, they are always there to take risks, even things that can endanger their lives. And they are always there to do things that it's like when you see this person, you'll be like, "Ah, this person doesn't love herself or himself." So such people, it's because they experience too much pain to an extent. They don't love themselves. They don't have value for their life. They're just living because they are alive. So any small chance they get and that can end their lives, they'll always be there to welcome it. So such people are always self-sabotaging their lives. And lastly, we have eating disorder or self-harm. Eating disorder, we've seen people who eat too much. Why? Eating makes them forget their problems. So they'll overfeed. We have people who will overfeed because they have problems. We also have people who will underfeed because they have problems. So these two things, it's what we refer as eating disorder. So there's someone who will eat too much to help forget what they went through, and there are people who will eat less to help forget what they went through. And this can happen maybe in your childhood life. Maybe you stayed with a step parent, or the guardians you stayed with, maybe they used to deny you food. Some trauma are very, we see them they are very small things, but to people who experience them, it's not small. Maybe you are not being fed properly while growing up. The person who you were staying with used to deny you food, or to give you little food. So when growing up, you can either have two things. You can start overfeeding to replace the hunger you went through while growing up. So you'll find yourself, once you see food, you'll overeat. You're like, I'm eating because while growing up I didn't eat enough. So you are overeating to replace whatever you went through. Also, if you are underfed while growing up, you'll find yourself that has grown with you to an extent you don't have value for that food. You'll always be undereating. You'll always deny yourself food, because that is what you've grown up knowing. You've grown up knowing that I'm not supposed to eat enough. I'm not supposed to feed, maybe to eat nutritious food. So whatever you went through can shape what you experience as an adult. So you can either overeat or undereat, depending on how you took it while growing up. We have physical health effects. Physical health effects because of childhood trauma. First of all, we have weakened immune system. Weakened immune system because if you are the kind of person, maybe you are physically abused or emotionally abused, you were abandoned, you might be thinking too much, and you neglect yourself and your body. You don't give your body enough nutrients through food, and you'll start having a weak immune system, and you'll find yourself that you are frequently getting illnesses because your immune system is very weak. We have heart disease and high blood pressure. Heart disease and high blood pressure because of overthinking. Depression. You see, thinking too much, you'll start, you ask yourself questions that don't have answers. And this will lead to heart diseases, high blood pressure because of that thinking too much. We have chronic pain and fatigue. Chronic pain and fatigue because of maybe overworking and don't giving yourself time to rest. People they neglect their bodies such that they even assume things. You were growing up, nobody took care of yourself, nobody was keen with your health, and you've grown up knowing that even if I have a headache, I'll still work. Even if I have a fever, I'll still continue working. So you neglect your body to an extent you start having chronic pain that can't go away even with painkillers. And you have fatigue, you've overworked yourself, you don't have time to rest, you've ignored your body, this body of ours, you need to listen to it. This body communicates. And once it communicates, if it needs rest, you need to give it rest. So if you don't give your body rest, you'll find yourself, you'll always have fatigue. And the chronic pain will lead to fatigue always. We have gastrointestinal problems because of poor feeding. And this happens, you'll start having, you see people have hyperacidity, ulcers because of ignoring to eat or eating foods that are not okay with their body. We have sleep disorders. We've seen people while growing up, or even adults, either they sleep too much or they don't sleep enough. Why? Because of what they went through. There are people who, whatever they went through, to forget it, they ensure that they sleep. Like they sleep and they sleep enough. We're supposed to sleep for 6 to 8 hours. But you find someone, for them to be okay, they sleep like 12 to 15 hours. Also, there are people who don't sleep enough. Their sleeping pattern is very poor. They sleep for 2 hours. There are people who can't find sleep because of the pain they went through. They are always thinking. They are always asking themselves questions. And they can't sleep enough. So you find they don't sleep at all, or they sleep 2 hours, 3 hours, which is not okay. So why childhood trauma has lasting impacts? First of all, the child's brain and nervous system are still developing. So as a child, your brain is not developed enough. It's still growing. And if it's still growing and you have a bad experience while growing up, that experience never gets out of your mind. So your brain develops with it and it sticks in your mind. And that's why you go with it even to your adult life. We also have trauma that can keep the body in a constant fight or a flight state. Like you are always fighting with pain because of the trauma you experience, and your body is always fighting those feelings. It's always fighting those experiences from your mind. We also have core beliefs from early that I'm unsafe and I'm unlovable. So if while growing up you didn't feel safe around people, around with people around you, or you didn't feel the love, you'll grow up knowing that I'm not worth it, and you're growing up knowing I'm never safe around people. So you can be with people but you don't feel safe with them. You can be with people but you don't feel loved because of what you went through as a child. We have coping skills that may not develop in a healthy way. There are people who develop coping skills that are not positive, coping skills that are not good. You find coping skills like secluding themselves. This is not a good coping skill, because if you seclude yourself, you'll have negative thoughts. You'll start even thinking of suicide. You'll start thinking of harming yourself and harming people around you. We've watched people who kill their children, they kill their spouses, and finally they kill themselves. It's because of some of these things happen because of what they went through as a child, and it's working with them even in adulthood. Finally, we want to look at healing and recovery in adulthood. What can you do as an adult to heal from the childhood trauma of what you went through as a child? We have trauma-informed therapy. You can visit an expert who can help you walk out of whatever you went through. It's not an easy thing. Walking out of a bad experience is not that easy. You need to seek help. So you have to identify first that you are traumatized. You have a childhood trauma that is with you always from your childhood, and now you are a child. You have to seek help from an expert who will help you walk out of the bad experience that you went through as a child. We can also do that by building safe relationships. Safe relationships. Yes, you grew up being abandoned, you grew up being abused, but while growing up or as an adult, you can identify people who you can be friends with, or you can, even if it's your spouse, or you can try creating healthy relationship or relationships that will make you safe even in your adult life. We can also learn emotional regulation skills. You can learn to regulate your emotions as an adult. As a child, you're not able to regulate your emotions. But once you are an adult, you can learn how to regulate your emotions by either, we've seen people who, once they feel that they are overwhelmed, you'll find someone sitting somewhere and they breathe in, then they breathe out. It helps you relax. So such skills that can help you. We have people who can, once they feel overwhelmed, they can take a walk. They can do exercise. They walk around, they jog. You see, such things are emotional coping skills that can help you. You try to control your emotions. Maybe someone has angered you, and you can learn to control your emotions. Maybe, if I stay here, I'll be overwhelmed with anger. So if someone has wronged you, you learn to walk away. That is trying to regulate your emotions. Also, you have to understand your triggers. What is it that triggers the pain, that triggers you to remember what the pain you went through? So try and understand what triggers that. And once you understand that, you'll be able to avoid those triggers. If you see this will trigger me to remember what I went through, you try and avoid that thing. If this person is maybe seeing the people who traumatized you while you were growing up, try avoiding them. So once you understand your triggers, you'll be able to avoid them. We also have practicing self-compassion. Loving yourself is very key. Loving yourself is the first thing that will helps you in your journey of healing. So first of all, you have to have self-compassion. Start loving yourself. If you love yourself and appreciate yourself, you'll find yourself that if you love yourself and accept yourself how you are, you'll start seeing people also love you. But if you don't love yourself, you are always seeing the bad things that are happening around you. Other people will also see those bad things. So first of all, love yourself. Have compassion for yourself, and other people will see that. We have reparenting techniques. Your reparenting techniques, maybe there are things that you needed they needed to be done for you while growing up and they were never done for. You can reparent yourself. As an adult, you have that money, you have that capability to reparent yourself. So do yourself those things that you think that were not done for you while growing up. Maybe, like, give yourself things that you feel that you were denied. Take yourself, maybe you being an adult, you were never allowed to interact with people, you are always indoors. You see, such things can traumatize you, and as an adult you can reparent yourself, reintroduce yourself to those things that you feel that you were never introduced while growing up, that can be causing you to have those childhood traumas. And as we are winding up, we want to look, I wanted to, at least we have something that will walk with us as we try to heal these childhood traumas. You see, whatever you went through as a child, it doesn't define you. It doesn't define your adulthood. It doesn't define your relationship even in life. No one cares of what you went through as a child, but what you are as an adult is what matters. You have to be aware that people are always ready to support you. People have empathy. You need to transform that pain to joy. So understand yourself, and you don't have to allow that pain to define your adulthood. So try to reshape your life and try to forget your pain and introduce good things in your life so that other people can start seeing those good things in you. You can create a new version of you that people will know. Don't let people know your childhood version, because you have a bad experience, you have a bad childhood. Let that not be what people know you as an adult. So define yourself as an adult. Introduce yourself to people. You can introduce yourself to be a very better version of yourself, so that even if you try telling someone, once you heal and you try telling people, I went through ABCD, people will not believe it, because you introduced yourself as a newer version. So create a version that people will like. Create a version that will be successful in life. Create a version that will lead a healthy life, not despite the childhood trauma that you went through. Thank you for following us through that topic, and tomorrow be here as we will be speaking about how childhood trauma affects relationship. Tomorrow our topic is relationship. Our topic is always relationship. So we'll be looking at how this childhood trauma affects relationships. So please don't miss. Thank you for being with us. I've been your host, Fiona Mogita. Have a blessed day.